Golly, that's good.
I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's. That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Pechauds or Pechaw. This is not what I expected. That was weird. I said there was going to be a Bourbcast tonight because Thursday something came up. And then I had a lot of work to do today, thankfully. And I was on that and I was focused on that. And I get looking up at the computer and it's 10 till 7. It's like, So I get my glasses and all that stuff and I might as well open this while we're talking. And then I look over and I realize that my camera isn't even set up. I had a shoot this weekend and my camera is still upstairs in the box. So I had to set it up. I had to get my information about this O.K.I, and I'm spilling it everywhere because I didn't open that very well, and these papers are everywhere. Anyway, so, yeah, I know, that's O.K.I abuse. So I had to set that up. I had to get my information, get my glasses. I had to focus the camera in. It was a fun 10 minutes. Okay, but we're here now, and it is Bourbcast night. Now, I will not be here on Thursday as promised, and I am sorry for that. Like I said, something came up. Everybody else was available except for me, and I can't have everybody change their schedule for me, so I switched it back around, and right now we're going to be doing Monday again for a little while. Aaron's watching. Chris is watching. Hi, everybody. Bill's watching. Hey, so I will be switching back to Thursdays at some point. It's just, I think the only night of the week that doesn't completely screw me up is Wednesday. I could do them on Wednesdays. But right now we're here, so let's get her done. All right, this is O.K.I. This is MGP, but it's not just any MGP bourbon. This is 5 different mash bills. It's got a low rye bourbon. Listen to this. It's got 7.8% of a 10-year, 1.8% of a 9-year, and 23.3% of an 8-year. The high rye, oh my gosh, and it's all listed out here. So the low rye that I just told you is 75% corn, 21% rye, that's not low rye, and 4% malted barley. The high rye, this is so crazy. It's 26.4% of an 8-year and 0.2% of a 3-year. And that is 60% corn, 36% rye, that's high, and 4% malted barley. Then there's the rye whiskey, which is 12.2% of the, and it's a 9-year, and that mash bill is 95.5 rye. Then there's the corn whiskey, that's 4.6%, it's a 9-year, and that mash bill is 81% corn, 15% rye, and 4% malted barley. And then there's a light whiskey, which makes up 23.7%, and that is 99% corn and 1% malted barley. That's a lot. There's a lot that goes into this bottle. This is batch number 1, and this is the one I keep hearing everybody talk about. They love this. It's about 75%. 5 core mash bills, including the ones we just talked about. So here's how it all started. O.K.I was getting started by New Riff Distilling. Yes, that New Riff in Bellevue, Kentucky, right across the Ohio River. It was going to be a source line with the intention of getting the distillery off the ground as whiskey stocks aged, awaiting the day they would become ready to be bottled. O.K.I stands for Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, or as originally stated on the bottles, distilled in Indiana, bottled in Kentucky, and loved in Ohio. That's really cheating. The brand eventually went defunct as New Riff phased it out, replacing it with their own stock and a new label. In 2020, local entrepreneurs Jake Warm and Chad Brazadine acquired and relaunched O.K.I, hoping to breathe new life into it. So, let's see what there's. The original barrel fill dates on the back label range from 2007 to 2014, which on the first glance suggests the whiskey is actually older than what's stated on the front label right here, where all those mash bills are written. Notably, the whiskeys included in the blend were barreled twice before the final blend was created and then stored in tanks prior to bottling. The ages stated on the front represented the original time the whiskeys were stored in the O.K.I. barrels before being tanked. Tanked! This is a complicated pour. Everybody's talking that they love this thing. 75% price point. If you do miss out on the batch, some of the reserve batch number 1 was rebarreled, intended to be released as part of O.K.I.'s single barrel program. I haven't seen that yet. All right. A lot of cinnamon on the nose, some oak. Definitely some oak on that. Okay, I'm going to let it sit just a couple more minutes. I know it's been a couple minutes, but I'm going to let it sit just a couple more minutes, and I want to show you. I put up a post, and I forgot to tell you what I got in that package that had the Maker's Mark wrapping paper. I work a lot with the Kentucky State Police, and they sent me a little toy car. This is a rendition of their SUV that they use. And then they sent me a rocks glass, and it says 75th anniversary of the KSP. It's kind of cool because when I went down to Lexington to work with them a couple of weeks ago, I had stopped at a couple of liquor stores and picked some stuff up on the way down, and I didn't want to leave it in the car because it was hot out, and you just don't do that. So I had my backpack that had my laptop and all that stuff in it, so I crammed the bottles into my backpack and brought it inside. And when I set it down, they heard clink, and the woman back there, Sherry's like, "What's in there?" I said, "Bourbon." She goes, "I like bourbon." So now they know I like bourbon, so they sent me a rocks glass, and it says 75, and they're a great group of guys and gals, let me tell you. Great group. They treated me very well over the years, and it was just very exciting for me to have that. Okay. They found me on the internet. How cool is that? And basically what I do is I go down, they have the rewards, you know, they safe driving awards and bravery awards and different things that they did. A lot of it this time was talking about the floods and talking about the tornado. So, but what I do is I drive down there and I sit behind a curtain and I do this and I talk like this. And now, put away your credit card. There's more. And I get paid for that. I get paid to do that. And they treat me very, very well. And I get to eat dinner with them and I'm getting to know everybody. It's really fun. All right, getting back to this. Yeah, that oak is really pushing out that cinnamon. I'm glad it wasn't just a fluke because there's a fruit note in it. It's really far back, but I can find it. I'm getting chocolate. Like a rich, dark chocolate, not like a milk chocolate. And definitely not a Tootsie Roll. Some black cherry. It's quite pronounced, actually. Maybe just a touch of iced tea. Unsweetened, of course. All right. Everybody keeps talking about this one. Let's find out if it's good. Watch me say, "Ugh, it's terrible." And everybody's going to go. We'll find out. Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. Okay, the proof on this is 100. It was first released June of 2022, so this is probably still part of that first batch. The bloom is very nice. It's like creating a ring around the edge of my tongue. It didn't sit in the center and move out. It moved down and around. Really interesting bloom. It's oaky. Do it, oaky? Okay, on the second dram, I'm not hardly getting any bloom anymore. Again, on the center of the tongue, it wasn't that big anyway, but on the sides, even that's coming down a little bit. For 100 proof, I would have kind of expected this to be maybe a little more harsh, but it isn't. It's really, really smooth. Surprisingly so. I mean, especially with as high as some of those ryes are in the mash bill. This is quite the blend. This is where things are going, kids. Blending. If you haven't noticed. You got to get more products out there, right? So blending is the way to do that. Especially if New Riff had already started this stuff and then just decided to drop it. Okay. Finds out New Riff is also responsible for some of the rye that goes in High and Wicked. I don't know if you know that or not. High and Wicked is a brand that, I don't know, it doesn't seem to fly off the shelves or anything like that. There was one that they did, it was a special release this year, that one did really well. Moved off the shelves pretty quick. It was quite the mash bill. It was like 107 proof, and it was aged in a certain particular type of cask, but that wasn't New Riff, but the rye is a New Riff rye. But the High and Wicked, something definitely to look into. I haven't had any of it yet, but the one bottle I would have liked to have tried, it just flew off the shelves too quick. And it was expensive. It's very expensive. Make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Okay. Let's get back to this. Definitely does not drink like 100 proof. Very smooth. Very, very smooth. And not sweet. Some people tend to go for the sweeter bourbons, like the Buffalo Traces, the Mictors, even to some extent the Old Foresters. They got a little bit of a sweet side, and this does not have a sweet side. This is oaky. Compared to the sweeter side of bourbons, this is oaky. But it's not so oaky that I'm not enjoying it. It's got a little bit of a smoke on the finish. I got a little bit of orange right on the tip of my tongue on that last pull. So this is a very, I'm not going to tell you that it's super complex, because it isn't. The complex pours that I've found are the Old Forester 1920, the Smoke Wagon Small Batch, the New Riff Single Barrel. Those just have different notes that fly in from all over the place. I'm not going to tell you that the O.K.I has that. It's not going to be one of those that I'm going to say is really, really complex. Now, this is a fresh crack, so it could change a lot. I'm just putting that out there. It could change a lot. But right now, off that fresh crack, off the Head and Shoulders, it's not complex, but it is actually quite good. It's a little on the earthy side. I'm gonna give that because of the high corn in the one mash bill and the high rye in the second. None of the mash bills are very high on malted barley either, which is why I think that I'm not getting those sweeter, fruity notes. The barley is 4%, 4%, 5%, 4%, and 1%. So those 5 mash bills combined, that's still very, very low malted barley notes. Now, O.K.I did come out with a rye earlier this year that I haven't tried, and nobody was really all that excited about it. This is the one that people got excited about, like big time. And I understand why. It is very, very good. It isn't what I expected. I expected this to blow my mind. It's very, very good, but it's not blowing my mind like some of those other ones I named. That Smoke Wagon Small Batch blew my mind on the first pour. It's like, holy cow. Because it lacks the sweetness. I think it needs a little bit more malted barley in it just to bring in a little sweet. Because right now, what I'm thinking as I drink this is I might enjoy this on ice. I never think that when I drink bourbon, but this is one of those that just seem, I mean, it's down here in the Burb Cave. It's the coolest place in the house. but I'm finding myself wanting to cool it down. And that's, I don't know, that's instinctual, I would suppose. All right, let's do our next pour. So I can add a little water to it. That was brutal. That was violent. Okay. I forgot to pull out what I'm doing next week, and I didn't write it down. I mean, I just have to find it. All right, so let's do a little water on this bad boy. That's the second time I spilled it, pouring it, so maybe it isn't me. Maybe it's the bottle. It's probably me. It's been a busy week, and we've just gotten started. I'm very happy. Very, very happy. Tomorrow's going to be stupid busy. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Add a little water on this. O.K.I. with an H2O. All right. That might have sweetened it up a little bit. Let's see. It did, but just a little. Just a little bit. Whew, okay. I opened it up. I'm going to tell you. Ha! Whew, there's the bloom. Now it's back to feeling like 100 proof again. Hello. Okay. Hi. Yeah, okay. Boy, it just needed to open up. All right, now let's give it... The notes on the flavors itself didn't change a whole lot. It did get a little bit sweeter. I'm going to see if I can identify where that's coming from. If I can. I think it's that corn side of the mashbills. Those corns, let's see, 75% corn, 60% corn, 95% rye. That's the rye one. 81% corn, 99% corn. So that may have brought out a little of the sweetness of the corn. It's not overly sweet. You have to look for it. But there is a little bit sweeter side of it that came out, and that is still on my tongue. That finish is still there. Little water really opened this up a lot. I'm getting on the lips now. The finish is oaky, but not overly so. It's a really nice balance of oak. Quite good. All right. Get this finished up. Alrighty. By the way, when I talk about the neck and shoulders, I had somebody comment on my YouTube channel, which is @Beautiful Bourbon. Somebody commented that, and I'm not laughing at them because I've done this. It was tough for me to understand what they mean by the neck pour. And the neck pour isn't just what's here. The neck pour is all of it. So this guy, or gal, not even sure, I think it was a guy, commented on the YouTube page that the neck pour is fictitious. Because you can, with the cork on, move it all around and all this kind of stuff, and whatever was in the neck is no longer in the neck anymore. Now it's all mixed in, so how can it be a neck pour? That used to confuse me too. I didn't understand it. This is no different than the rest of what's in the bottle. It's just that it hasn't gotten a chance to breathe. And once you open it up, then all the contents, as you pour it, right? Let's get that ice sphere out. Gorgeous ice sphere. Get that out. All right, so as you pour it, look what happens. Look what happens. You turn it sideways. What's in there starts to move around. So what happens is it gets more access to air. Then that whiskey that has air access gets blended in with everything else in the bottle, and it opens it up. So if you're confused about the neck pour and why I call it that, the neck and the shoulders, it's not because just this part is going to be any different than the rest of what's in the bottle. It's just the fact that it's been unopened and it hasn't been able to open up. There's no air getting to it. That's all it is. So trust me, when you're new in your bourbon journey, you're trying to figure out all the terminology and what everything means, and you're trying to make sense of it all. And for the longest time, I didn't believe in a neck pour. And then after I've gotten into this, I think this is number 177. After I've gotten into it, I realized that, yeah, there's a neck pour. Some of them really need to open up, and I think this is one of them. But let's move it around on this ice sphere. Whoops. I'm spilling the hell out of this one. What's the matter with me? It's alcohol abuse. All right. Control yourself, Casey. I'm trying. Getting up on that ridge is right up there. All right. Chuck's watching. Lorena's watching. How are you two? Glad you're here. Thank you for watching. Unexpected Monday night. So now it's going to be like a week and a half before we're back again, unless something happens and they just stay on Mondays again for a while. I don't know. We'll see. It's crazy. I'm not complaining. I'm blessed. All right, here we go. Okay, I was wrong when I said I'd like to cool this down. It didn't kill it. It severely wounded it, though. The oak is still there. There's still some nice flavor to it. It's just not what it was. So as much as I had the instinct that I wanted this on ice, I don't want this on ice. A little hint of cigar tobacco on ice, which is something I didn't pick out before. It's possible it was there, but it really came out on ice, and that's what I'm getting most of, and that oak. All right, so there you have it. That's O.K.I. I like it. I'm not going to tell you that it's the best thing I've ever had because it's not complex enough for that. Now, once it opens up, it might be more complex and I might be more apt to go a little gaga over it. But, you know, we'll see. Let me tell you what's coming up next week. Next week is... Okay. All right. I didn't realize I had this coming up so soon, but it looks like next week, either Monday or Thursday, I'll keep you up to date. We're going to do Old Ezra 7. Old Ezra 7 is one that I have been seeking and slowly finding and sitting on because I don't see it very often. And when I do see it, I grab it. I've got a couple bottles of it. I've never opened it. I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I do love Ezra Brooks products. I don't think I've had one yet that I haven't loved. So, Old Ezra 7, the bourbon, not the rye, is going to be coming up next week on Beautiful Bourbon. So, there you go. All right. The O.K.I, I can recommend it. It's different. It's unusual. It's very tasty. It's not sweet very much at all, which I kind of like. Occasionally, it's nice to step out and do something different, and this one has just a lot of stuff going on to it. It's not complex, but it's really good. So, thank you again for watching. I do appreciate it. We will see you again next week. Either Monday or Thursday. It might even be Monday again. We'll see. I know Thursday's better for a lot of people, but just the way things work sometimes. So, we will see you then, and until then, smile.